Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Armchair Booking Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host. My name is Steve Barber, and joining me, as always, is my absolutely fantastic co-host, Waylon Davis.
Hey,
and
everybody.
as you can see, if you're watching the video, we sometimes we'll have one guest. We've had two guests once. Right now, we have three guests, but because this is a very, very special episode that we have been talking about for actually a few months now, and we were finally able to get everything together, and it's now finally come to fruition. And we're going to be talking about, Black History Month. We were talking about really these two gentlemen here. We're going to ask some questions about what they've seen as being Black professional wrestlers, and just kind of going into the history of things as well. Because Dwaylen and I, we did what back in July, I think, Dwaylen, July, August.
Mhm.
Yeah, we did an
Yeah.
episode, just on Black male pro wrestlers, really Black male world champions.
Yeah.
And so this is kind of an extension on that. And I do have to give credit because the original idea was actually my original co-host Kyle, but we couldn't do it last year. And now he's no longer the co-host, but I am going to still give him credit for the idea. So because I thought it was a great idea then, we just couldn't pull it off. And now we're able to finally pull it off. So I'm very happy. So I just want to introduce, kind of the order that I'm seeing kind of clockwise. Devin Graves you're still out of Murray?
Yes, sir. Still out of Murray, Kentucky.
Boo.
Okay. We're doing it. Okay. I wonder who booed me. Okay.
We have Joe Pro James out of Cincinnati, part of the Northern Wrestling Federation, which I told you I was going to be repping. See?
Yeah. What's going on, everybody?
And Matthew Mims, also known as Mimsy, out of Clarksville, Tennessee.
That is me. Don't boo Tennessee. Boo Kentucky, boo.
And of course, you already know me and Dwaylen. And so today, Dwaylen and I we are definitely not that important. We just want to focus on the three gentlemen right here we have in front of us. So, Dwaylen, you want to start with the question? You want me to start with one of my questions, or?
Let me see. I'll start. Let's see. Because you sent me a list of questions. I'm curious, as being Black wrestlers, do you think it was harder to get into the business being Black?
Who goes first? I'll go first on that one. I would say, depending on actually, I won't even want to base it on your area. I'm just going to say generally yes, because based on my experiences, a lot of the places I go to, I'm perceived automatically as a bad guy. And I'm really not I'm not a bad guy. I'm pretty entertaining. You're going to like me. And even when I am playing a bad guy, it's really hard to boo me. People will come up to me and it's I really like you. I don't want to boo you. I'm like, well, you should like me because I'm cool. Yeah. So I feel like a lot of places you're just trying to deem you as a bad guy. And I don't understand why. That's one of the things I've run into as a Black wrestler is you're dubbed a heel or some type of street character or something like that.
Joe?
What was the question one more time? Say that again.
Just as do you feel like that it was harder to get into the business being a Black wrestler?
Nowadays, I would say no. It's definitely a lot easier with the modern times, but definitely back in the day, I would say it would be much tougher to get in the wrestling business. Yes, because racism ran very deep at the time, and it still does, but it's not as bad. You know what I'm saying? So I would say in today's era, no.
How about you, Mims?
Yeah, I would say it's a question where it gets kind of an answer I'm used to giving everybody with everything. It depends. Honestly, for me, it's a yes and a no question. Breaking in, to the business, it can be a bit harder depending on your area and also depending on the kind of talent that you're trusting to take you under their wing, to train you and to give you the right idea about the business and to kind of like mold your mind to where it's ready for the business. Luckily with me and Devin, we had the right people in our corner and people who just wanted to see us succeed. And kind of just when it comes to doing indies, especially here in the South, because I mean you kind of know how it is.
Yeah.
That's where you can find the difficulty, like he kind of touched on. Me, I either get put as a heel on the indies because I'm usually larger than a lot of my other opponents and I can look more threatening, the long hair, the facial hair, anything like that. But even the people who train me, now that I'm in NWA, the higher ups there, they mostly just see me as one of those John Cena type baby faces. And that's typically what I would probably gravitate towards. It's easier for me because I'm a natural baby face.
Okay.
So playing heel is something that I like doing. I do enjoy it. It's just that naturally I would go towards more the babyface side, and then me being the only black man on your roster for this night, for this particular indie, nah bro, you're heel. And it's hard to and there's a lot of black guys who are good at being those black heels that people want to see, because hey, this is the one guy on the roster that looks different than everybody else, and they think that automatically means if you're different, you're a heel. There's guys like Luther X out here in Tennessee who's a fantastic heel, and that's typically what he plays, and he plays that archetype for what they're looking for so much better than everybody else. It's kind of, I feel like I'm insulting him by playing a heel in a different part of the show than he is, because he's going to do that job way better than I am, especially whenever it's kind of, they kind of want one guy to play that or one group of guys to play that. I don't feel like I'm doing it as much justice as he is, because he knows what he's doing. Me, on the other hand, again, I am the babyface guy, so trying to throw me into that role, it does make it a bit harder.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
I'll even chime in on it. I lost a booking because I don't play heel, because the area I was going to, they predominantly don't cheer for black babies. So I would have to go heel. And at the end of the day, they just like, you know what, we're just not even going to try it. Like, I mean, I appreciate it. They love my work, but they're just not going to try it. So I do run into situations like that. So I agree with Joe. In today's era, it's a lot easier now, but at the same time, like, we still run into issues. And I also agree with Mims. Like, it's also a regional thing too. Like, there's no right or wrong answer. It's more of like a yes and no, and here's why.
And actually, something that Mims said actually kind of perfectly segues into the next question that I had. In the past, there was a practice amongst some wrestling promoters to only have one black performer on the roster. And that actually surprised me the first time I heard that. I was like, what? But yeah, I mean, but how would this have affected your own personal motivation if this abhorrent practice was still the norm? And have you experienced something like this even in modern times? Go ahead, Mims. Actually, since I segued off your answer earlier.
I thought we were still going in the circular order. But yeah, honestly, whenever I hear this, the first thing I think of is kind of it's where we come into women currently. And with women, how they're kind of booking only one women's match per show, or that's a special attraction. I can kind of understand where these parallels come from. With women's matches, it's just that there's not as many women in the business that people may want for a show. There may be promoters that are saying, hey, I want 2 or 3 women's matches per show, or I want more than just that. I just want to be able to throw whatever talent I can out there. As long as they're good, I want to throw up the best talent. And that could kind of work the same way for black males. A lot of promotions I come into, especially here in Tennessee, I am the only black guy. It's not because there's not other good black wrestlers. It's just I'm the only one that happens to be here. Right. And so if it was because I do understand having that, and it can be a benefit and also a detriment. Now, where it's a detriment is whenever the booker is saying, hey, I'm strategically only planning to have one black guy here. He's going to be heel. He's going to be hated. He's going against our good old boy over here, and he's going to beat the brakes off this young black man. Same thing with having just, specifically one women's match. No, I don't want to have any other women on my show. Where it could be a benefit, and I'm playing a little bit of devil's advocate here, is that, hey, you're the only one on the show. You're the one who stands out the most compared to everybody else. There's a bunch of different white guys or Latino guys on the same show, or, women, just anybody else on the show. You're the only black guy here. You're the special attraction. You're the one that you can say, no, I came to see the black guy. That's where people can say that about you. Oh, the black guy stood out to me. There's not, it makes it so much easier for you to perform and kind of just be yourself when it's just you. It's also a little bit alienating and kind of a detriment because you feel, I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm a big guy, but I'll go to these shows where it's a sea of white people. It's a locker room only filled with white guys. And sometimes that can make you nervous just in case, especially if you're running heel. If you're running heel and you're in a certain part of town and you're nowhere near where you're from, and you're supposed to be riling up the crowd as much as possible and getting yourself some legitimate heat, you're wondering if you're going to make it to your car after the show.
Yeah.
You're having to rely on the boys in the back who may be agreeing with some of these people here on exactly how they feel about you. And you've got to trust that they're going to have your back and you're going to make it to your car and get out of this town.
Right.
And so that's where it can be a detriment. And then, like I said, it can make it easier for you to work and have more creative ideas. And that's where it can be a benefit. To me personally, it's been more of a benefit for me than a detriment. The detriment's only been that one situation I talked about, but I always had people in that locker room I could trust to make sure I make it out to my car.
Right.
So.
Oh, wow. Joe or Devin?
Now, what's crazy is, me personally, I've never had that issue. Not too long ago, it was back in May of 2021, I was doing a booking at Jimmy Yang's promotion out in Hamilton, Ohio. Jimmy Yang, he used to be a WWE star, WCW.
Yep.
He was running the promotion out there, and I actually felt very, very comfortable in his promotion. I had no issues there. I was the only black wrestler in the building, not only the wrestler, but everybody in the crowd. There was no African Americans in the crowd. So I was literally the only black person there. And I felt very welcome. And the people in the back, they were very polite to me. So I was treated like a king there. The crowd was behind me too. So it was actually an awesome feeling. But then again, it also depends on what territory you're in, what area you're in. So it just all depends on the promotion you're going to. And, if they make you feel uncomfortable there, then it's going to be hard for you to work. But me personally, never had that issue.
That's good.
And I was actually there for about 3 months.
Okay.
Oh.
And I had an awesome time every single time. Yeah.
With me, I haven't necessarily had like uncomfortable feelings, but I have been like the only black person in the locker room or in the building completely. But I kind of use that as like motivation. I'm like, okay, I'm the only one here. I could be like the door to get more of us in this promotion. Like, okay, he's good, so let's try and book some more people. Like, and let's make this promotion more diverse. I always like to look at it like, okay, let's. I can do. Get off me, cat. Anyway, I could try and do. I know, right? I am alive. All right. I also rescue kittens. So, I just try and look at it as like, I could be like the person that opened the door to get more people into that promotion. But honestly, heel or baby, as big as I am, ain't nobody gonna try me. Like, don't do it. Don't let the wrestling stuff fool you. Don't try us. Like, don't try. Don't try. Like, you want to try Mims walking to his car? Come on, man. That's a legit wrestler in high school, man. No, come on. You don't do it, people. Don't do it. If you hate the heels, just hate them in the show and just leave it alone. But I haven't ran into any of that. Yeah, I haven't ran into any like truly uncomfortable situations. Now I have been scolded a little bit, but at the end of the day, see my performance, like look away from my color, like I'm a good performer. So like I said, I try and look at it as like I am opening the door to get other people here.
Cool.
Awesome.
Dad Whalen, question?
Let me think. I had one. Okay, I have one. I'm sure you all know the limited amount of Black world champions there have been and are currently in wrestling. Do you feel that, I mean, what are your thoughts on that? It's like, because Steve and I have talked about that. We even, broke down the different, Black world champions throughout history. And I mean, what do you think of the fact that there's, as people of color, as Black wrestlers, there's still hasn't been a lot of representation at the top of the card?
Nope. How about you, Joe? I'll let you go first this time.
I feel, me personally, I feel that has a lot to do with how over you are. I don't really think it's a Black issue. If you're a type of wrestler that has everything combined, you have the body, you have the charisma, the athleticism to go with that. I think that has a lot to do with you getting over and becoming champion. How over you are with the crowd, how much do they like you? I think that has a big part to do with that. Can you put butts in seats? I think, the promoter will look at that. If you can put butts in seats, I think that will have a lot to do with your, coming up and becoming the champion. So, yeah. Because if you look at The Rock, he was a Black wrestler, but he drew money.
Yeah.
So that caused him to rise to the top very quickly. I'll even say Ahmed Johnson, he rose to the top pretty quickly. Being intercontinental champion, he put butts in seats back in the mid '90s for a little bit. Ahmed Johnson, a lot of people don't know that, but he drew money.
Yeah, he was the first ever Black intercontinental champion.
Intercontinental champion. So he had a short reign there, but he had the look, and fans loved him. So that had a lot to do with his push. So that's my opinion.
The locker room didn't love him, but the fans did.
Yeah. They didn't care much for him backstage, but the fans loved him.
Yeah, right. But the fans loved him though. Yeah.
I think I'll tackle this. I think, in that era, there really wasn't a lot of, Black wrestlers that will put butts in seats then, like in that era. So I think it's going to change now because there's a lot more Black wrestlers now. So I really feel like you're going to start seeing more Black champions. I think, how many NWA Black champions were there? I think only 2. I think there's only 2.
One world champion.
One. So it was R-Truth, Ron Killings.
Yeah, it would be if this would be a Billy decision if he wanted to. I don't really know. Like, I mean, obviously he owns the company, so I'm not sure exactly where he would want to go about this, if this would be a slippery slope or anything like that. But I mean, the thing with Bobo Brazil, where they kind of just erased that from history, they're like, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and give the belt back, and then also, we're not gonna recognize this. I understand, given the time and the culture at that point, of like, hey, let's play it a little safe here. This might be a little bit too radical for this time. So that's where you would get your 2 world champions from. But with no dispute at all, like completely undisputed, Ron the Truth Killings is the only Black NWA world champion. Or at least like just for NWA. I mean, if you count WCW as being a part of NWA, you've got Ron Simmons, who is your first Black world champion, period.
You got Booker
which
T.
is Booker T also. He's one of your handful of Black world champions. There's a lot of them to look up to, especially now. I agree with what Joe was saying, where it's kind of a game of how over you are if you can put butts in seats, especially now, since there is a lot more representation. Then also we can't go and undercut the achievements of some other Black men who have become world champions, like Moose, like Big E, like Kofi, and there's other men of color who've become world champions and it's where it naturally happened. They were over. That's where they got there. Whether they were heel, whether they were babyface, they were doing their job to the utmost of their ability. They were either putting butts in seats to see them win or putting butts in seats to see them lose. Now, for me, I've not been, I haven't been very quiet on the issue when it comes to anybody backstage or whenever it comes to even publicly speaking about NWA, me wanting to be world champion.
Right.
That's something that, to shed a little bit of light of what happens backstage. Pat Kenny, Nick Aldis, I mean, even Billy, they've been like, yeah, no, we can see that happen. Mickey James has even been like, well, yeah, you say that can happen. We believe it can happen as long as you're willing to put in the work, as long as you're willing to continue on your path of improvement and keep doing the right things that you're doing. Still stay in a positive light backstage, and then also continue to grow your brand and continue to grow in front of that audience. Expect you to do, and to have the audience see you the same way that we do here backstage. Yeah, we have no problem putting the world title on you. There's not going to be anybody in that company that's going to hold me back from that. And that's one of the big differences between now and let's say even 30, 40, 50 years ago, is that, hey, it didn't matter how over you were going to have someone that says, I don't know, that's a good idea.
Yeah, let's calm down.
Oh yeah. Like, you may be
where
over,
is he from? No.
Yeah.
You're putting butts in seats. You're the reason why people are coming here to see you. Like, you're the baby face. That's the guy on top. You are a top baby face, but we can't do that one. That's a little bit tricky.
Yeah.
And so
listen here, Tyrone. We're not going to put you on the belt on you. Just you're selling out, but that's how it is.
Yeah, it's like, but we're gonna need you to keep putting those butts in the seats, but we're not gonna go that far.
Oh yeah, we're never going to have a champion beat you clean, but they'll beat you every time. So it's definitely a different environment now, to where it feels more like, at least wrestling for a black male that's in one of these major companies. When we're talking about these world titles, it feels more like a meritocracy, which is kind of what I've always envisioned the business as. And it's kind of, as I got older, I realized that not everything in wrestling has always been a meritocracy. Sometimes it's been a popularity contest, and sometimes it's been it's been a bit of a racial divide that, yeah, you can work as hard as you want, but you're only going to get so far. Now I don't feel like that's exactly the case. Even with the whole controversy they had with AEW, it's something that I feel like, when it comes to those wrestlers that people were saying were being discriminated against and weren't getting this time to shine and weren't able to be pushed the way they need to be pushed, I felt like that is still something that's a meritocracy. And the people that are there, that people are saying, oh, this guy should be world champion, this guy should be champion, this guy should be in the top card, blah, blah, blah. I feel like they'll get there because I have that much faith in them. Those people we're naming off that everybody's like, oh, what about this guy? What about this guy? I feel like they're good enough to do that someday. It just isn't their day right now, but it will be. These are people who have all the skills, all the talent, and they can be just as over, and they have all the potential to do that, just like I do. I would never want, and this is where I can have an issue with some sides of that controversy, is that sometimes people just want to give them a world title because they're black. Right. Because you don't have anybody else who is black that's holding that title, and not because of the fact that it makes sense, not because of the fact that they're over, not because of the fact that they're good, just, hey, you're black and you're on this major promotion, you should have a title. I don't feel like I should have a title yet because I'm not ready to have a title yet. Who knows what's going to happen?
Look at me. Look at our promotion. We put the title on a black guy. See, like, watch us. We're diverse, kind of like that thing, like no reason for it. I completely agree with that.
And like, I asked that question because I feel like, honestly, that out of all the wrestling promotions, I feel WWE does that. I feel like it's kind of one of those things where they're like, okay, you've complained and you've tweeted and you've been on social media talking about this, so we're going to give you what you want for a little bit, and then we're going to go back to the status quo. Because I mean, they did it with Kofi, they did it with Big E just recently. They've done it with Bobby Lashley. It's like, we're going to
they did it with Booker T.
Yeah, they did it with Booker T.
And WCW. So just because Hulk Hogan It was something going on in his contract. He didn't agree with it, so he just walked out.
Yeah.
So they just handpicked Booker T, and then just like, oh, here you go.
Yeah, Bash at the Beach
2000.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't personally speak to WCW just because when I was growing up, I was a WWF kid.
Right.
When it comes to, I got to say that I respectfully disagree when it comes to Big E, when it comes to Kofi, because they were legitimately over. Kofi Mania was a thing. Yeah, it felt somewhat like a very similar line of tread like they did with Daniel Bryan. Whenever that happened at WrestleMania 30, if I remember correctly. But with Kofi, he was extremely over. That gauntlet match did so much
that
to
was
put
amazing.
him in the eyes of the fan as a world champion. Him, those few weeks, those few months leading up to WrestleMania, him fighting Daniel Bryan, that made him feel like a world champion. That's where, like, you know, the whole idea of a meritocracy and that any match could be your star-making match. Any match could be the one that turns the tide to make somebody look like, hey, they're not just a mid-carder, they're not just this guy who's going to be dependable or a gatekeeper. No, this guy could be a world champion. It takes a match. It can take a single promo, just like it could to knock you all the way back down. If you're really over, it's one bad promo, one bad match isn't going to knock you down. I mean, because I'm sure
they did that with him and Brock Lesnar.
Yeah,
with him and Brock, they put him right back down with having him lose to Brock Lesnar in 3.5 seconds. On SmackDown.
Yeah,
it's like, you know.
And like Mims was saying, I completely agree. Big E was over. Kofi was over. I just feel like they gave us what we wanted for a little while, and then it was like, okay, now we did that. We need you to be quiet while we go back to the way things were. And I just feel like, I feel like that needs to change, because there's a lot of black wrestlers who, like y'all were saying, whether like they may not be there yet, but it's like you've got to put that time in, and the company has to put that time in and trust you to get there. And I feel like that WWE doesn't really do that as much as other promotions do. Because I mean, you look at Ring of Honor and Jay Lethal.
Yeah.
I mean, Jay Lethal, you know, he put in the time. He even left, went to TNA, came back, put in more time, and they saw that he's putting butts in seats. He's the best guy for the job. Put him in there as world champion, and then he has one of the longest reigns ever. I mean, it could be done. I just feel like some promotions just don't want to put in that time and that effort.
This is where I would argue. This is me arguing for Kofi and for Big E, even though I'm going to explain why they did that. This is me also understanding a bit more of how the booking would work. When it comes to Big E and Kofi, I'm extremely big fans of the New Day and everything that they've done. They've been a big inspiration to what I do with my career currently and how I've learned to let go and not walk on eggshells so much and be myself when it comes to my character on television, because my character is just me. The thing with Kofi and with Big E is that they're not yet on the same level of a Brock Lesnar or a Bobby Lashley. Those guys are seen, their gimmicks are literally, they're destroyers. They're guys that come in, wreck stuff, and leave. That's how it works for Brock Lesnar. That's how he gets his heat. I mean, we can go back to when he beat The Undertaker's streak. That was a mauling. He destroyed The Undertaker. Same thing they did with John Cena. He came in and wrecked John Cena. Multiple different pay-per-views. He just beat on this man. Same thing with Triple H. Same thing with Seth Rollins. Same thing with Finn Balor when they finally had that match that I was so excited for, and it did pay off. Even with Dean Ambrose, that's kind of the style of match that he has. Same thing with Goldberg. That's what he does. So with Kofi being so over, that was the point of having him get squashed so quickly. It is a gut punch. It is for lack of a better term, it is a kick to the nuts. Kofi was booked very strong almost his entire reign. He had a pretty decent reign. He was there for 6-8 months, and then he didn't look bad as champion. I mean, because if you want to argue about somebody looking bad as champion, I absolutely loved his reign as champion, and I thought he was a really good guy, and he deserved to have the title. But Rey Mysterio was booked a lot weaker. He was losing all the time. With Kofi, he was winning most of his matches. He just came up to Brock Lesnar and got stopped real quick, because that's how Brock Lesnar works as a character. He's supposed to be the shock and awe. You don't think this is going to happen. This looks real. I mean, look at what happened between him and Randy Orton. The first match they ever had together outside of the dark matches they used to have on SmackDown before they actually got on the roster. He beat him down so bad, people thought Randy Orton was seriously hurt, or maybe he was in a coma, concussed, something like that, because he bled hardway.
Is that the SummerSlam match?
Yeah.
Oh,
where he split him open with his elbow.
It was shocking. That's what Brock Lesnar does. He shocks and he gives you that old school heel feeling of, wow, this guy just took everything from me that I love. That's the same reason why it happened to Kofi and why it happened to Big E, is because of the fact that these guys come in, they wreck stuff, they're dominators. They're, for lack of a better term, they're butt kickers. I mean, that's the same thing that would happen with Big E, and that's not how Big E or Kofi's gimmick is. They're fun-loving guys that'll come in here and get the job done, and they're very dominant when it comes to the tag team division, but as single stars, they don't come in as people who just dominate and maul people. That's not their gimmick. So understanding how that is, that's like, let's say, for example, Killer Cross taking the title off of Keith Lee. Keith Lee's gimmick is not of a dominator, a destroyer, an absolute monster, but Killer Cross's, that is his gimmick. He needs to come in, beat somebody up, have it almost completely one-sided, and make it look like something that's going to make your stomach turn. That when you love this babyface so much, you're just like, oh, I love this guy so much. He's so great. You need to feel upset. The fact that we feel like Kofi was robbed, the fact that we feel like this was something that made us so upset by seeing Kofi come out there and get destroyed when none of us expected that, that's the point. That's the reason why they did it. And with Brock Lesnar, like I said, that's how he gets his heat. That's how he stays relevant. He has to come in and beat up our favorite heroes. He's a heel. And then again, like, still with the whole idea of drawing power and people being on their level, Brock Lesnar is demonstratively their biggest box office draw right now, who still comes back to this company regularly, who's still an active part of their roster. Brock Lesnar's the guy who puts all the butts in seats. I'm not saying Big E doesn't. I'm not saying Kofi doesn't. I'll buy whatever they're selling. I've bought a bunch of their merch, and I've bought tickets just to see those guys. And anywhere they go, I'm willing to follow their career. But Brock Lesnar is not just somebody who is definitely years ago, just for his 2-year run when he first started, qualified for being in the Hall of Fame, but he is still doing Hall of Fame quality stuff right now and doing Hall of Fame quality work as a heel right now. This is how it's supposed to be. It happened exactly like it was supposed to. You should want Kofi to come in and kick his butt. That's what we all want right now. You're being worked the way you're supposed to.
Oh, wow. Woo. So I'll go ahead and get on another question because, wow, thank you all three of those answers. I mean, those are all great. And another one, and this is one of the questions that I've actually sent to all three of you and Joel as well. Just last week, female wrestler Athena, formerly known as Ember Moon, which, by the way, I will pick her to win the Women's Royal Rumble every year. Ask Joel. Even if she's not in the WWE, I'm still going to pick her to win. But she was the target of an audience member shouting racial slurs at her. Has this ever happened to you? And if so, what was the outcome? Anybody go first?
I'll go first.
I'll go ahead, Joe.
You go.
No, go ahead. I'll go after you.
It has never happened to me before. I've heard of it happen, and I've heard of fans, correcting that fan. In this time and era, like a lot of people, the fans usually kind of police themselves nowadays. It's kind of cool, but it's never happened to me. But I have heard it happen to a couple people before. But thank goodness it hasn't happened to me, because if it happened to me, I don't know if I can stay in character as being Mr. Yay me. I don't know.
Joe?
Yes, it has happened to me. I'm not going to listen I'm not going to say the promotion, but it was in the South, and I was coming out of my entrance, and I just heard the big N word coming from behind me. I don't know where it came from, and it just, a whole ball of anger and fire came above me, and I broke character, and I really wanted to do some crazy things, but the promoter threw him out though. They threw him out. So it was very hard for me to take that. So I instantly was, curses. I couldn't hold frame with that.
Right.
No.
So yes, that was the first time, and that was the last time.
I've had one show I can actually remember, and it wasn't. I didn't think it was going to turn out the way that I thought that it actually ended up doing. As far as the the big old N word, the one with the hard R getting thrown around. That was something that my sister and my girlfriend had heard at the time while they were at this show, and they definitely, when they got there, they saw some things that kind of coincide with the political leanings of some people who happen to belt that word out for fun. Mm-hmm. And they were kind of like, we're kind of suspecting something like this is going to happen. And I was like, nah, I've been in places like this before. It's probably not going to happen. They'll get mad. They'll probably wave their Confederate flags, but they're not going to pull that one out. And for me, I personally didn't hear it until I saw a video later. I definitely got the mop-headed monkey. I got that one. That was something that, like, I give people a bit of reprieve when they call somebody a monkey nowadays, not saying that that's always a racial thing, because some people just use that as nicknames for their kids. Oh, my little monkeys are walking around. And, you know, they're not black. So they're not meaning it in a derogatory way. So I was just like, okay, I'm going to let that one slide. She just called me a mophead because I have dreads. And I didn't take the monkey thing as a racial slur. Definitely could have been. Probably was in this instance, but I was like, okay, I'm going to let this go. I was working heel and I was with Luther X. We were at the Tracy Smothers Memorial Show. Now, I was honored to be on the show, to be able to have a tribute to Tracy Smothers, because he's somebody that's been so influential in a lot of people's lives. Me personally, I didn't know him like that. I've only seen one match of his in person, and it was at, I think, the very first Tried and True Pro show we had. And so it was a lot of fun for me to be out there for somebody who's been so important to a lot of the guys who trained me and brought me into the business, and be able to be alongside them, and also be opposite side of the ring from Crimson Jacks, guys who brought me into the business, who also were influenced by Tracy Smothers and were among his network of people that had their lives changed for the better because he was around. But coming in there as a heel, you know, I didn't really think of anything of it. Me and Luther were the only black guys on the card. We were in the main event, so I was happy about that. We come out, I didn't expect to get called the F word plenty of times, and I'm not talking about the fun word with the CK at the end of it. I'm talking about the other F word, the one that'll get you in big trouble. Lots of that, and you know, other things I shouldn't be getting called by children. These were children doing this at first.
Oh my god!
Oh my god!
I was like, where are you? Yeah. I broke character because I'm supposed to be being heel here. And I was told, like, Jackson told me beforehand, he was like, yeah, man, you know, go out there and heal it up, but, you know, just try to keep your language clean because, you know, it's a memorial show. And he was like, definitely, he was like, if you can, don't say the N-word. And I was just like, I'm not going to do that show. I keep my mouth clean anyways when it comes to these shows. Nah, it's not going to happen. And so I go out there.
No one told the fans that. No one tells the fans that.
Yeah.
Nobody. I'm hearing all types of itches and ums and whatnot. And I have never been called this on a show. Even when I've been heel at other shows, I've never been called this many names that I could not repeat on this interview, because these would be
where are the parents?
Where are the parents?
Where are the parents?
I pointed to a lady in the crowd. I was like, are these your kids? Are these your kids? She was like, no, they're not my kids. Nobody knew whose kids these were, but it was like 5 or 6 kids screaming at me the hardest, the absolute hardest.
It's like, where's your mama at? What is going
on? They taught them that, probably.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they taught them.
It was taught. Yeah. That's something that's taught, man. Kids are not just gonna come out saying all that other, you know, all these names. It was taught somewhere, if not their parents, their aunties, whoever. Somebody taught them.
Yeah, either that or
that's why I want to know who taught them, because I'm like, who? What? How dare you? Like, I would have gotten reamed if my mom heard me acting foolish at an event like that. And
I wouldn't be here now if I was if my mama caught me acting that way.
He's right. Dwaylon's mom, nicest woman in the world. I don't want to make her mad.
Yeah, she's not to be messed with. No.
I mean,
it's that old generation. You don't mess with that generation. I don't know what is his name.
I feel bad when I cuss at a wrestling show, even if, like, let's say I get hit by something that stiffed me a little bit too hard. I try to bite my tongue on that one because I'm so afraid of saying something stupid I shouldn't say. So my rule is always, when I come out there, no matter what the show is, hey, they can say whatever words they want to say. I don't need to do it because I'm not going to be the person. Like, you never know who's saying it. They may be saying something, and they may be over with that crowd, or just over in general, where they can get by on that one. I'm gonna be the first one to go on NWA television and say the F word because something hit me a little bit too hard, or I busted my lip, and that's the end of me. Right. So I'd rather not do that. I'm not that over. I'm currently, I think right now I am a mid carder. I'm not top of the card. I can't get over that one.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, Dwaylen? That's your question. Yeah.
I had one, but I can't think of it right now. You can go ahead with another one. It'll come to me in a minute.
All right. Yeah. And speaking of which, yeah, every once in a while I hear my son is coming up with some word. I'm like, where'd you hear that? It's school. I'm like, mm-mm.
It's like, no.
Yeah. He one day he dropped a C word right here in the house, and all of us looked at him like, whoa, what? And he actually didn't realize it was a bad word. And we're like, don't ever say that word again. So anyway, so have you ever had a promoter or a booker or agent, et cetera, ask you to do something you felt could have been disparaging? And granted, now actually, not just talking to everybody, it seems like everybody's actually worked with more than one organization, because that's one of the things I put in there. Hey, if you've only had one organization you've worked with, please don't feel obligated to answer, because I wouldn't want you to get in trouble with.
We don't want you burning any bridges or anything.
Yeah. But. And I'll give an example. Tony Atlas, and Joylen, you know exactly where I'm going with this one.
Yes, I do.
And around 1995, Tony Atlas, he had returned to the WWF. They had him portraying a character named Saba Simba.
Yep. I do exactly.
Thankfully, it didn't last a real long time, and because I don't think it got over, because people looked at it like, what are they trying to? No.
Well, you could see when he came out, you could see the crowds like, am I supposed to cheer this or boo, or what are they doing?
This is Tony Atlas.
And you could tell Tony Atlas was just like, I'm just here for the check.
Yeah, he needed money because he was in a bad way at the time as far as money went. And
I feel like they took advantage of that. I feel like they're like, okay, he comes back to us. He's needing a job because, he's fell on hard times. So we're going to give him this just insensitive gimmick, knowing that he's going to do it because he needs the money.
So have any of y'all ever experienced anything like that?
Not me.
Nope. I know. Yeah, I know Mims.
He said, "Not me."
I stayed home from this promotion that tried to give me this gimmick. I didn't even show up. Again, it was in the South. They wanted me to do a Cinderella type gimmick, and I said, "What?" And they wanted me to wear a dress and do a Cinderella type gimmick, and I said, "All right, well, I'm not interested. I'll be staying home."
What? What?
Yeah.
How does that make money? I don't. Just off the principle.
Where are you going in the South? You are having horrible experiences. Where are you?
I'm not gonna listen to promotion, but I was given that, and I said, I didn't accept it. I wasn't interested.
I'm just trying to figure out what state you're in. I'm like, good Lord, what's going on? In the South. No wonder he's staying in Ohio. He came down south and he was like, never again.
It was not in the NWF. I know that. That's my definitely not NWF.
He's not even treading the waters. He's like, I ain't even going down that road.
No, I was about to say, the only person who should have a story should be Devin, because I know exactly.
Oh, well, I knew you were gonna say something. I knew you were gonna. I should have. All right. So yes, I have. Little inside joke. Little inside joke about all my wrestling buddies and everything. But yes, I was trying to debut at this promotion. I will not say where or anything like that, but people who know me will know what I'm talking about. And I already have my gimmick. I'm the dog. DOG. They were pitching me to be the new Kamala because I'm a bigger guy, and they wanted me to be a Kamala. Paint my belly white and have the little swell on my face.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I'm not doing that. I have a gimmick. It's kind of like Junkyard Dog, but it's like a newer age version of it, up to date. So let's give that a whirl. I'm like, yeah, all right, we'll see. was over like Rover, and he was PO'd about it. Like I had the whole crowd, which was predominantly white, barking for me. So I was just like, stick it. The entire time I was there. Like I was there for about like 4 months, and I was just like, each time, stick it. So yeah, that was mine. I used it as like motivation. I'm like, I'm not gonna play this character that's definitely gonna be offensive in this time and era. I'm gonna show that, you know, my character can get over, like it'll work. And I just stick to my guns, and I, you know, just kind of proved him wrong and proved some other people wrong too. So you know, that's my story. I know Mims over here just cracking up at it, but I was like, ha ha, real funny. But yeah, that's mine.
I don't get it where they'll try to like, hey, you're African American. How about you play an African gimmick? Like, brother, you know, they came on slave ships. My culture got washed away. I'm not a real African. I'm an American.
Exactly.
This is not something I lived through. Don't make me be something that I'm not. I understand that a lot of wrestling is where some people are acting like who they aren't, or they turn up their personality to 11, or they're doing something completely different, something they made up themselves.
Right.
But you're just like, hey, how about you act like you're from Africa? Because you're from Africa, right? No, I'm not.
Like,
maybe the closest person I could think of in recent memory who had something like that they did was Kofi Kingston, where he had to act like he was Jamaican. The guy's from West Ghana, like he's from Ghana, bro.
Yeah.
He was raised in Boston, but like he's from Ghana. Like that's the closest thing I could think of that you could probably ask him to do, is instead of doing the Jamaican thing,
Apollo.
do an African thing. Yeah, or Apollo, like what did he do, the Nigerian gimmick?
Yep.
And his parents are Nigerian. Yep. Yeah, his parents are Nigerian.
His parents are Nigerian?
Yes.
Yeah. That's totally fine. And I thought people were pooping all over that, and I was like, no, he looks like he's Nigerian. That he's probably like actually been to Africa at some point, and his family is probably very involved in his life. I can believe that. And I'm fine with that. That I like that, because also whenever he did the gimmick, it was actually really good in my opinion. Maybe it didn't go everywhere it was supposed to, and that's kind of where you get into a booking thing here and there. But you know, honestly, I thought it was great. I liked it. I thought it was cool. I mean, that's the closest thing it felt like to an African gimmick that could actually work.
Eduardo, you remember the question?
Yeah, I got it. My brother and I have this discussion all the time. He is not a fan of the New Day or R-Truth. He views it as they're just out there shucking and jiving for people's entertainment. And I don't agree. I don't agree with that. But I was going to ask you all what you thought about that. Do you think that do you agree that they're just out there shucking and jiving for entertainment, or do you disagree?
I'm gonna take that one. No, I do not believe they are shucking and jiving for people's entertainment. This is not me protecting myself as a wrestler who wants to stay in the wrestling business. This is not me saying this as a fan. This is me saying that, you know, there's black people like this that act like this. I'm somebody who I like to be a little bit goofy. I'd rather not take everything seriously. Comedy is extremely important to me, and I'd rather be able to laugh at everything than be serious and be hard all the time. Like you got a lot of these dudes out here, and they come from the hood or whatever, and they got to be hard all the time. That's not something they do on purpose. That's not something they want to do. That's something they have to do because of the environment they're in. It's like being in prison. You got to be this dude who's like, hey, I'm ready to go at any point in time. And psychologically, that does mess with you. That does leave a stain, that leaves damage to your brain if you're constantly in fight or flight mode and you're always switching on to fight because you always got to look over your shoulder. And the thing is, these guys either may or may not have had those lives, but also when they're in this ring, when they're out there in front of these people, do people want to see that all the time? No. I mean, and also, do they want to be that kind of person all the time? Honestly, it's tiring. If you've always got to be on guard, it's like being in that permanent mindset or acting like that, especially whenever you feel like that's not who you are, especially if that's not who you are anymore. Why do you have to do that? Why do you have to be this certain idea of a black person that somebody else has, even if it's it's still something that I feel that is insulting or offensive. If you're saying, hey, I don't like this idea of black people, they come up with themselves, they should be like this. How are you any better than white people who may say, oh no, well, I always thought black people were going to be people with drums and dancing around in circles and painting their faces. That's what I thought black people were. You're not going to do the yo homie yo thing. You're not going to do that. No, being black is it's just a part of my skin color. It can be who I am, but I don't have to be a specific black person, especially when I go on television. I'm whoever I want to be.
Right.
I'm exactly me. And if you don't like it, that's cool. You don't have to be a fan of me, even if I'm a babyface. If you feel like I'm shucking and jiving, that's cool. That's fine. You ain't got to agree with the gimmick because you don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
And
right.
you know, I understand that in wrestling, some people want everything to be all serious, and I can get that. Big E is somebody that I was given direct advice about backstage in NWA, and they were like, yeah, I like his idea of his character, and I think that's something that you can kind of work into your own way yourself, where he is just being himself, and whenever it comes to, you know, promos and other stuff like that, for the most part, he's happy-go-lucky until somebody gets on his bad side. That's when it takes a turn for the worse. That's when he gets in the ring and he's gonna beat the crap out of you. That's when he's gonna be like, okay, yeah, all that play is over with. We gonna handle this real quick.
Right. Yep.
And
I agree.
And R-Truth, he's shown different facets of himself with that too. He's been serious. He's been a jokey joke character. He's just doing what he enjoys. Who cares?
I feel like this is when some of the people that are woken are a little bit too woken and they need to get some sleep or something like that. Because if you go to a barbershop, cutting up all day from open to close, cutting up.
I mean, that's the beauty of the barbershop. I mean, you go and just you have all different
you're yourself,
kinds of
you're letting
conversations.
loose.
Exactly. Yep.
So what's wrong with someone going into the wrestling business and, like Mims said, be themselves? So they're cutting up. Yeah, we get serious here and there, but overall, a lot of us are goofballs. Like always cracking jokes on each other, joning, talking trash. We're goofballs. So people would want to see that. That's not juking and jiving and tap dancing and the old WB. You know, that we're not doing all that stuff. You know, it's just like who we are. We're some goofballs. Right. So it really just sticks at me when people are like, "Oh, you should act a certain way because you're black." I'm like, well, what am I supposed to act like? Because, like Mim said, like you're just as bad as them. You know, telling me, it's just as bad. Like who are you to tell me who I'm supposed to act like? You get mad when they, want us to be these savages or like these thugs on TV. But then when we're being goofy, you're also picking at that too. Like, so what are you wanting? Like, can we not just be ourselves?
You cannot win. Right. You cannot win. But most importantly, what's the most important thing and what gravitates people towards R-Truth or towards the New Day? It's because it's the same thing with Ricky Starks. It's the same thing with The Rock. And it'll be the same way with me when I get to show more of that facet of my character. They're having fun. They're going out there and they're having fun. People want to see people go out there and have fun because it's infectious. When I see somebody else having fun, I want to do that. You see people at a party having a good time. Do you not want to be at that party having a good time?
Yep.
You don't want to be around the person who's angry, trying to kill somebody every 5 seconds. Now, there's a place in wrestling for destroyers. There's a place in wrestling for the always angry and aggressive guys. And that's typically on the heel side of things. They're there to ruin the good time. They're the wet blankets that come in there and ruin things. But when I'm a baby face, is everybody going to see me be the most angriest guy in the place? No. I mean, Booker T had plenty of funny segments. He had plenty of segments where it was a little bit goofy, where he was just having a good time as a baby face, even having a good time as a heel.
I mean, the whole king gimmick, you could tell he was having a ball.
Right. He was right.
Being the king. And it's like, I agree with y'all. It's like there's not one way to, there's one way to be black. There's no singular definition of, oh, well, that's what it means to be black. It's like, I enjoy the people that go out and have fun with it and are being themselves.
Yeah. I definitely agree with everybody else on the panel, man. There's different forms of yourself. Okay. Big E, R-Truth, that's their natural self. They've even said that in a podcast, not a podcast, but I was watching something on what's that app called? Paddock. What is it called? Peacock. It was Peacock, it was Big E Chronicles or something. And he even said himself, he admitted himself, I'm a nerd, I'm a geek. This is my natural self. I love to be goofy. This is just who I am. But I'm pretty sure if you was to test Big E, you'll see a whole different side of him.
Yeah, you don't want that.
You know, it's the same thing with me. I tell people all the time, I'm not hard all the time. I tell people all the time, I'm a nerd, I'm a geek. I still play video games. I still watch cartoons. I still watch Rugrats. But, you know, I try to keep that warrior hidden in the closet somewhere. I try to not bring him out. Okay. Yep. But if you test me, then I need to yank that chain and say, hey, I'm not the one. So there's different forms of you. You know, you don't always have to be hard all the time. You know, there's a time to be goofy. There's a time to be serious.
Yep. And like you were saying, Joe, about keeping that warrior in the closet, because once you let him out of that closet, it's hard to get him back in there.
Oh, then everybody's going to be like, oh, you need to calm down. Why
exactly.
is it so serious?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
As of
Why
right
are
now,
black people
as I'm
so
talking to you
angry?
all, yeah,
it's like they push you to that point and then wonder why you're angry.
Right. Right now, talking to you all, I'm Joseph James right now. I'm Joseph Eugene right now. Right, Joseph Eugene James right now. I'm not Joe Pro, Mr. Intensity. But if you pull my card, then I turn it to Joe Pro, Mr. Intensity.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen Joe Pro, Mr. Intensity. I saw him last night in the ring, personally in Mount Orb. Yeah, not a man you want to mess with.
Yeah, big DC and Titan. You know, we got to score. I got to score to settle with them suckers, man.
Yep, and I'm probably going to be there to watch it too. So, yeah, I'll take the next question. Kind of falls on what we were talking about. Have you ever had to work with someone suspected to be at the very least an extremist sympathizer? An example being Dick Murdoch, back in the day, because supposedly he was a card-carrying member of the KKK.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah.
Yep.
A lot of that came out after he died. But yeah, how hard was it to work with somebody like that if you ever had to, or how hard would it be to trust them in the ring?
luckily, I've never been through that, and I personally wouldn't work with somebody like that. I mean, I've only just now gotten to a point where I'm like comfortable with saying what I am comfortable, what I'm not comfortable with. And if I even know somebody's on that same stuff, like there's a couple key phrases you can say nowadays to where I'm like, I probably shouldn't work with this dude.
Right.
But luckily, I haven't been in that kind of situation just because, you know, I don't do too much stuff on the indies nowadays. It's mostly just all NWA stuff. And we wouldn't even let somebody like that in our locker room. Like it's politics is never usually a thing in our locker room. We have people from multiple different sides, whatever, all in that political spectrum, and people have their opinions. They talk amongst themselves with people who have like minds, and that's fine. And nobody ever brings that up to where we're just like, hey, well, you know what? I'm not too fond of those black people. Nobody ever does that one. And if they did, they wouldn't be in this company anymore, because that's one thing that isn't tolerated from the top to the bottom. Nobody's gonna tolerate anything like that. So luckily, that's just a fan thing. That is not a wrestler thing for the most part. Be hard stuck to find that. And any people that I've suspected of that, there's a few people like promoters that I've reached out to that wouldn't even take a look at my message, or either because I had somebody as a proxy for me to introduce me to those people, and then afterwards, once that proxy was no longer there, they couldn't be bothered. It kind of made me understand, like, hey, this is somebody that I've given my resume to while this proxy was a part of this conversation. I've sent it off to them, and then whenever it comes to doing business outside of this proxy being there, oh yeah, I had no interest in doing business with this guy anyways, no matter what.
Right.
And it's like, I'm not the greatest wrestler in the world, and you know, I can still potentially be somebody who's not really a name per se, even though I'm on television, I'm doing this and blah blah blah. There's still not really a point to completely ignore somebody when they hand you a resume that has any notable achievements on it, at least for what I've done so far. Because I mean, like, and I don't like to like blow myself up and be like, oh, I'm the greatest thing here, I'm the greatest thing ever. But I'm somebody who's in a major promotion. I'm a talent that's on television with a very well-known promotion, and you kind of just look past that and never even give it a second thought. It's kind of like something that kind of clicks in my head that I'm like, this isn't the first thought that comes to my mind, but I'm like, that may be the only excuse here.
Right.
Because who wouldn't jump at the opportunity to do that? Even if I was like in another major company that's still just a smaller, let's say like MLW or something, or GCW, or any of the promotions that aren't one of the top major promotions, and all they need to hear is that. That's it. That should be the only thing they hear, is that, hey, this person's in a major promotion. Whether they're enhancement talent, or they're a low carder, mid carder, top card guy, you've got somebody who's in a major promotion. This should be something that you sell out your stuff for, or try to push as hard as possible. But whenever you completely ignore that, that tells me something.
Joe?
No, I've never had that issue. Thank God.
I know. Roger.
That's one thing I can say. Yeah, I've never had that. I hope I never have to run into that problem.
Yeah, because I'm quite sure Roger won't tolerate it.
Oh no, not at all.
How about you, Ben?
I actually haven't ran into that, thank goodness. But you know, a lot of the places, you know, I go to, and then, you know, and I've even talked to some of the old crafty vets in the NWA too as well, when I was like in that locker room too. And then some of the locker rooms I'm around, like I talked to the old vets and I asked them questions about it, and like they hear people like, you know, back in the day that were like that, and they just like, best thing to do is just kind of venture away from them. Like, you need to stay away from like certain people. But I've definitely heard that there are people out there like that. I'm not going to say any names or stories that I hear, but you know, it is out there. It's more of the older. I haven't really heard any of like today's wrestlers, but it's more of the older wrestlers, if that kind of makes sense. That are still out there.
We're getting some kind of weird feedback on somebody's. Can you hear that? Like humming?
Yeah.
It's not mine. Mims, you breathing in there? Hold on, let me.
Nah, it's not mine. I kept muting it over and over again to make for sure if it was mine.
Let me check mine. No, it's not mine.
Well,
let me see if it's mine.
Here.
No, because I could still hear it even when mine was muted.
Maybe it's something I don't know.
Let me mute mine.
It kind of disappeared for.
Yeah, it's kind of coming and going.
Yeah, you know what? We'll power through it. So
yeah,
Dwaylen, your question.
My question is, what kind of, like, who do you see as, you know, black wrestlers that are up and coming that you could see being big stars in wrestling? Not necessarily now, but you know, in the future.
I'll go ahead and say Mr. Mims is probably going to tear up NWA here soon. I'm going to say that. He going to tear up the NWA here pretty soon. Just all I got to say is that when we get booked in the match, you better be easy on me, you punk. Don't do me dirty.
Hey,
you about to do me dirty on live TV.
You already know exactly what I got chewed out for whenever I was I didn't go out and squash Deontay in our little dark match. You know, Ricky Morton got in my butt about it. He was like, "Hey brother, you better make for sure you're squashing these guys," or whatever. I can't remember what he said. I got trouble for that. You know, I'm not gonna go out there and squash and disrespect you, boy. But if we're just talking about black wrestlers, I mean, I would say like just looking at other people in major promotions is easier to talk about them than other people I see on the indies or whatever, because you never know what can happen. There's so many variables with the indies.
Right.
Jade Cargill, like she's someone that's like pretty much got everything down. It's just you know, hey, working out the kinks here and there, and we all have kinks to work out. I'm still pretty green, like almost 3 years in. Like I'm a little bit short of I'm a little bit short of 4 years now, and I'm still super duper green. And I mean, she's been able to do a lot in such a short amount of time. And then also you have Powerhouse Hobbs, who's somebody that Like even Homicide, like all the time, he'll still compare me to the guy, and he's like, "Hey, the reason I'm comparing you is because this is your competition. This is your direct, like, hey, there's somebody else at another promotion that looks like you, has a similar feel to you, and you've got to be better than this guy. You guys are the opposite side of the coins. He's a heel, you're a babyface. This is somebody that, I mean, I can definitely agree with like a Cornette or anybody else who's seen any of this guy's matches. This is a guy who can be a world champion. He can be a world champion somewhere. If it's not going to happen in AEW, it's a matter of time before it happens anywhere else, because a guy like he's the total package, and there's really not much to fix about the guy. Because I mean, everybody has something they can fix from the top to the bottom. Nobody's perfect in wrestling, but this is somebody that there's not a lot of glaring issues. He knows exactly what he's good at, and he's working out there exactly to all of his strengths. Same thing with the Ricky Starks. Ricky Starks, like, I mean, hey, I was still, you know, talent enhancement around the time that Ricky was in the NWA. I had seen him whenever they brought him in for NWA 70 when he worked that event. It was just ring crew. This is somebody that had world champion written all over him, and this is somebody that backstage, I'm not sure his direct interactions with people, but I know the interactions I have with people about him. They were like, yeah, no, it's a matter of time before he has this world title around his waist.
That's Ricky Starks is great. I don't think he gets enough credit for his work.
Oh yeah, no, he's fantastic. I'll sing his praises all day long just because he deserves them. I mean, the guy he understands, especially in AEW, because he has talking. And he's fantastic in the ring. There's plenty of NWA matches you can go back and see how good this man is in between the ropes. But also, if you understand how wrestling actually works, you understand that the wrestling inside the ring takes an extreme back seat to what you do on the mic and what you do with your character. Your character and your mic work are the two most important things, and wrestling is a distant third. And so he's good at all of it. And he's especially good at the two most important parts of it. And that's what I'm saying. Like, this is somebody just like Powerhouse Hobbs. These are both guys who should, if not having belts right now, they should have belts in the future. They should be holding whatever they want to hold. They should have that world championship push at some point, or be in those main event places. And there's still plenty of people that are still rising up. I mean, hey, my time in Impact, Chris Bay was somebody who was extremely good. This is somebody who's good on the mic and with that character work. And in the ring, he's doing something great with Bullet Club right now. He's getting the notoriety that he needs, but this is somebody else who he's already been X Division champ. He could be world champ at some point. I don't put that past him.
Yeah, you weren't in Impact that long. I remember that.
Oh no, I had my little 2 matches. We did our little ring crew stuff for about 2 years, and that was it.
Funny story about Ricky Stark, real quick. Funny story about him. The last tried and true pro event we did before COVID smacked everybody in the face was Survival. Ricky was just, you know, chilling with the guys in the back, and he was really messing with one of the ring crew guys, Chris Sainz. And when Ricky came down to the ring, he literally was just like, hey man, get up and walk me around the ring. Like, he literally hopped up on Chris's back and had him walk around the ring. And I'm over here being ringside security, trying my hardest not to laugh, because I heard them just messing around in the locker room. So I was like, Ricky's just a big goofball, man. He's a real good dude. So but I definitely see him being a champion for sure.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Man, y'all vacuuming out here. What's going on?
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Actually, it's something in Joe's end. Sorry to call you out, Joe, because I was going to go through and like mute everybody one by one.
I'm putting my charger. I need to charge my phone. Maybe that's what it is.
Okay. All right. We'll tell you what, Joe. Okay. I will probably end up muting you until I actually ask you like a question directly to you. If you don't mind.
Go ahead.
So, yeah, we only have a few questions left for me, and I know from Glenn as well. So there it went. Okay. So, but we can still see you. So if you ever have you want to say something, just raise your hand, like we're in school. You know. Hey, Glenn, is it my question or your question?
Yours.
Mine. Okay. What was your reaction when the video of Hulk Hogan using racial slurs surfaced? Hold on, Joe. Go ahead and unmute now. There he is.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. Man, that was very hurtful to me, man, because ever since I was a 5-year-old kid, man, I've always looked up to Hulk Hogan. You know what I'm saying? I was sent to the principal's office several times because I would mimic Hulk Hogan. I would be, flexing my arms and going up to the teacher and say, "Well, let me tell you something, brother." And I would just keep doing it to her. And she's like, "Joe, cut it out." And I was always the class clown growing up. And she would say, "Okay, go to the principal's office," because I was mimicking Hulk Hogan. I always be trying to rip my shirt and, jumping on tables. So he was a hero of mine, man. And when he did that, that was definitely a gut punch, because at that time, I was just at a loss of words. I wasn't sure if this was out of anger because his daughter was dating an African American at that time. So I don't know if it was heat that he had against the guy that she was dating, or if that's how he really, really felt about us in general. So, but when he made a world apology, that definitely put me at ease, and I forgave him. So, but for the few months, it definitely was heartbreaking, though. I didn't know what to think at that time.
Mims, Ben, either one of you.
Oh yeah, mine's pretty short and sweet. I ended up seeing the video because just morbid curiosity. This is before the controversy came out, before he sued them and basically had the Streisand effect happen. And if he wouldn't have sued people probably wouldn't have really thought about it.
Right.
Honestly, whenever I heard it at first, it was something where I think if he wouldn't have used the hard R or the N word in general, it probably would have been perceived a little bit differently as some light racism instead of that, hey, I'm going to put on a hood and burn a cross type racism, which is something that's a lot easier on the ears and something you can rehabilitate a lot easier than I hate them all. I've always hated them the rest of my life. I just hate him. I hate him. I hate him. And I never felt like from that conversation, especially because it was so candid, he didn't know he was being filmed. If there was a serious hate in his heart, it hit me a lot different. Obviously upset me because I thought Hulk Hogan was pretty great growing up, and with kind of digesting what he said, and then hearing his apology, it makes me think that maybe he's a different person now and he thinks of us in a different way. I've never felt like he's somebody who's actually had a serious hate for anybody of color, or at least Black people in general. It's just, the superiority complex, him feeling like he's above us as a people. That's where it still kind of disgusts me there. But it's something that, as somebody who would rather make peace than make issue and would rather work things out instead of go to confrontation, it's something that shows me that at least that's a jumping off point. It's a teachable moment instead of like an outrage moment. Yeah.
I was not really really Hulk Hogan, really. I love Hulk Hogan growing up, but then honestly, I stopped liking him during his reality show. I'm like, all right, I really don't really like Hogan. And then when that started popping up, and then the whole controversy thing popped up, and then he said that, I was like, yeah, Hulk Hogan's not for me. Now I'll still sing his theme song, the Real American song, and I love Voodoo Child, but overall Hulk Hogan, I'm just like, yeah, I get it, you apologize, you made that mistake, but I'll compare it with the recent situation. It's not like it was Randy Orton. Completely different. Because we heard about the Randy Orton one, but it's
I mean,
two different, Oh, you didn't know about Randy Orton?
Oh yeah, no. Tell me about it now. I'm hearing about it for the first time.
Randy Orton was pretty much playing Call of Duty, and then he was just, he didn't call anybody that. It was more or less he was just like, I think it was more, I don't want to say it here on the thing, but it wasn't like Hulk Hogan. He just said it. He was like, let's go, and then he said it. It wasn't towards anybody. It was just how he just said it.
Oh, so it's like a Morgan. It's almost like a Morgan Wallen situation.
Yeah. Morgan Wallen situation. Yeah.
Those ones are still just like it's not a jealousy thing, even though some people say, "Oh, it's a jealousy thing. They just want to say it so bad." No, hey, I got to be honest with you. If I was white right now, I'd be like, man, they say this word and it sounds so cool because the way they say it and how they say it with such swagger, man, I just want to be able to do it too. Right. And that's kind of how they get into that, where they're just like, oh yeah, whenever I'm not in public, man, I'm saying it all the time. Whenever I'm listening to my favorite song, you know, I'm belting it out, brother. You know what I'm saying? And that's where, like, with those people, it's never a situation where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm upset, because hate is the thing I'm upset about. Seeing yourself as superior because of the fact that you were just a different skin color, that's what upsets me. But if you're just like, oh no, it's just a really cool word and I like saying it, that's something that doesn't really bother me, because hey, there's a lot of words that people shouldn't say anymore or should have never said, that they just sound cool. And
that's right.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Joe. Yeah, you're unmuted now. No more humming.
Right, and well, that's the other thing that put my mind at ease too. Stevie Ray from Booker T's brother from Harlem Heat, he had a podcast going a couple years ago, and when he was giving his thoughts, he said Hulk Hogan is the blackest white guy he's ever known, because he's always hung around black people. So that's another thing that made me, like, you know, kind of relax a little bit. Okay, maybe he's just been around black people a lot, and it just naturally came out, you know. Because he said he's never treated him like that, or Booker T that way, because he's the one that elevated their career.
Right.
You know, so he said Hulk Hogan has always been cool with him and always treated him like a good friend. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say that was even after Booker T actually called Hulk Hogan the word.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, that promo. I still do
that is my favorite
yeah.
promo to this day. Nothing. The pipe bomb, Cody's promo. No promo popped me more than that botch promo by Booker T. I love it so much.
As soon as he said it, he was like, "Oh, you know," he thought, "Well, I'm gone. That's it."
I have that video saved on my phone for any moment I will use it.
I have another funny story, because Stevie Ray even said in that interview too, he said when Booker T slipped up and said that, the next day in catering, Hulk Hogan came to him and said, well, hey, I hope I'm a good end. That's what he told him.
Luckily,
I love it.
Luckily, Devin wasn't in our training school just yet. I think we were working on promos. It was one of the few days we've ever worked on promos. And I said something to where I ended up, it sounded just like I said that. And the first thing Crimson did was like, oh, I think you just had a little bit of a Booker T moment, didn't you? But Miguel just started screaming out. He was like, oh, you said it. I'm trying to focus on finishing up this promo, and they're all just like, yeah. So who you coming for this time? Say it again. Who you coming for? And I can't even remember the word which I slipped up on. And it definitely wasn't that, but it was something that could kind of sound similar, I guess. Mm-hmm. I guess it was just like the wrong flick of the tongue, and that's where they're just like, oh, okay. I was thinking they were all taking my promo seriously because I didn't even know I messed it up. And they were all looking at me laughing, and I was just like, what are you guys laughing about? I was being serious. Sure you are.
It's like, okay, all right.
Hey, Joel, what's your question?
Oh, you can go ahead. I don't have anything else right now.
I have, well, actually, I mean, I'll actually throw in another question, kind of tackling in the last one, but when the last WrestleMania, when they were in Tampa, when Hogan came out with Titus, did you feel they did that on purpose just to kind of almost play damage control, or do you think it was him and Titus are maybe sincerely friends?
Why not both? Why not both? I definitely think it was both.
With the Titus thing, Titus is really known in Tampa because he lives in Tampa. Like, he actually was one of my oldest sister lives in Tampa, and she was running for student council down there in district blah, whatever district it was. And he was one of her sponsors and everything that, supported her. So Tyson, Titus is really known in Tampa. So I think I am going to say it was damage control because you're in the city of Tampa. Your host is from Tampa. He's over in Tampa. So why not put Hogan with him just to kind of, hey, if Titus is cool with Hogan, why not Tampa? Let's be cool with Hogan. It didn't work because he got booed. It did not work. But
no, it didn't work
I would say it's more damage control just because of what Titus does for the city of Tampa.
Yeah, and Titus is just a legitimately good guy. So it's like, I think they were kind of hoping that would, kind of rub off on the whole segment. But no, they weren't falling for it.
What do you think, Joe?
I believe it was both, man. I mean, to me, it just seemed like they had natural chemistry when they were out there. So I think it was a little bit of both. A little bit of both.
Okay. And my last question, Joel and I, we said on multiple occasions on this show, we are not fans of qualifiers. And by that, I mean, saying somebody is pretty good for insert demographic here, he's pretty good for a black guy. She's pretty good for a woman, things like that. We have never been fans of that. Have you heard anything like this said about you, and how do you react when you hear things like that?
I've never heard it in a wrestling setting. I've always heard it, growing up or whatever, just because sometimes for some women who weren't of color that I ended up dating, they like their parents may have been like, hey, well, he's not too bad of a black guy. I mean, I thought he was gonna be different. And I'm like, I'm a child? What why is this a qualifier for me?
Did you ever get the he speaks so well type of thing?
Yes, I get that all the time.
I do too.
He still gets it. He still gets it.
Yeah, I got it from another black. Go to our team, the Clarksville Eagles had folded just because of some with the head coach. I think legally I'm not supposed to say anything. I'm sure it got solved. That was back in 2012. But I was going to go to a team called the Christian County Outlaws. And their coach, he was retired military, big old bald black guy or whatnot, kind of looks like your typical drill sergeant. And we got on the phone together because they were trying to recruit me hard. It was them and another team that were just trying to recruit me so hard they would come to my job and do this. And so he ended up talking to me on the phone. Coach Keith, he's just like, I'm surprised you're so articulate, you're enunciating what you're saying. I didn't think you would speak like this. They showed me pictures of you. I didn't know you would speak this well. Man, do you play golf? Because I play golf. We should play golf. And I was like, I don't know how to take this. This is the first time I'm getting this from another black man saying, hey, I didn't expect this of you. I was like, yeah, my mother taught me to speak proper English because it was very important. Not for like, oh, you want to get a job. No, it was just, she took a very high value in my education. I did too. So that's why I don't sound like I have an accent. Like the only time now that I'll hear something similar to that, and it's not something that has to do with anything with my blackness, is that people are surprised I don't have a country accent because I'm actually from Clarksville, Tennessee.
Right.
And they'll think, oh, Tennessee, you should have an accent. You should sound Southern. You should speak a bit slower and have a bit of more of a draw to what you're saying. And I think Billy might have even said that at one point, or either Pat Kenny had been like, yeah, I'm surprised you don't have a Southern accent. And I was like, yeah, no, it's just, I just don't have one. Wasn't lucky enough to get one.
I rib him all the time. I rib him all the time about his proper English. I'm like, oh, here comes a walking thesaurus over here about to drop some big old bombs. You said something earlier. You said something earlier in one of the questions, and I was like, there's a word I've never heard. And I was like, this is a serious question. I'm not going to do it. But I forgot the word that you said earlier. And I was just like, there's that thesaurus coming out of him again. All these fancy words he's using. Always.
Hey, I like my vocabulary. I take it very seriously. I am a very verbose person. And that works for me in some situations.
Very verbose.
How about you, Joe? Anything like that ever happened to you?
Yeah. Well, I was what they were just saying. I was told that all the time too. That I talk very proper for a black dude. Different jobs that I've had in the past. Like I've worked a lot of factory jobs, and I've had a lot of people come up to me and tell me, you talk so proper, and they will ask me what school did I go to because I went to Indian Hill my last 4 years, and they said, okay, well now I see why. Why you talk like that and why you act like that and why you dress dress so proper. So not only the way I talk, the way I dress too.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
People still don't expect that out of me in my high school because, like, the high school I went to was Kenwood, and they started calling it Ken Hood. So it's just a lot of our alumni like to get into a little bit of legal trouble after they get out. I think some people I graduated with, some of them are in jail for murder charges. Actually, a couple of them are in jail for murder charges. Definitely, plenty of them got in there for armed robberies or breaking and entering and stuff like that. And it's people that some of them you would expect it. You see their name on the booking log, and you're like, yeah, that makes sense. Some of them you wouldn't expect because it seemed like they were just doing something to look like they were a lot harder than they actually were.
Yeah,
they just carried around a gun because they were trying to perpetuate some sort of image or standard for themselves. And they were just like, no, I gotta look like I don't take no junk off of nobody, and they end up getting in jail for the X amount of years. But nah, I don't have that Southern accent. I don't have that very aggressive tone to me. I'm just a different type of dude. You know what I'm saying?
Well, with me, it's the talk for me too. Like I do have the country accent. I don't hear it, but sometimes people do. It does come out. But overall, I don't
hear
really
it right now.
Oh, yeah. Do you
the whole time?
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Well, I guess it's there anyway. Yeah, it's really the language stigma I get. Unless you get me riled up, then when I get riled up, then it kind of changes on you. It's more country, but it's more of an urban country. But yeah, it's. I guess I don't know. It's weird to me. I don't know. It's like why I gotta talk a certain way? I don't know. Just because I ain't no thesaurus like Mims over here. And first, here you go. I can't stand it.
Why y'all talk like that? I don't understand it.
It ain't that bad. It ain't that bad. Okay, excuse me. It isn't that bad. I'm sorry.
Oh, it isn't not
that bad.
Just wanted to make you
my apologies.
Well, Dwayne, I don't have any more questions.
No, I don't either. This has been an amazing podcast, guys. I appreciate y'all coming on.
No problem, bro.
Oh yeah. Sorry, Joe, I had to mute you for a little bit while we were trying to figure out whatever that humming was. But then once I unmuted, I was like, yeah, there you go. So when I gave a thumbs up, I realized I gave it during a weird thing. Ben was talking about. I was like, oh my god, I hope they don't think I'm like giving a thumbs up for like something negative that was just said. I was actually giving.
No.
Yeah,
yeah, you remember that part where Hulk Hogan said the N-word? Yeah.
Like, yeah. I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be doing that.
Go Hogan! All right, he had the ball. Yeah. No.
Although I will say, last night, Joe, you remember how Wildcat's wife, she was selling some of the merchandise right there, and she had some of the figures. Guess what one of the figures was my son bought? The Hogan figure. I'm like, yeah. I mean, he doesn't know any better, so that's why I'm like, okay. But I made sure,
right.
Yeah, so I made sure we also got the Jeff Hardy figure too.
Okay.
So
you got to dilute that purchase a little bit. Controversial purchase.
Yeah.
I mean, like, okay, I was like, yeah, because he doesn't know any better right now. So, and he's not being taught that kind of language in this house. And if he's learning at school, well, he's going to unlearn it real quick.
Right.
So because I won't have that mess in my house. Just to be kind of, but to be as family-friendly, blunt as possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just want to thank the three of y'all for coming on. This has been absolutely great and wonderful. Well, I mean, I don't know what else to say, Joel. I'll be honest with you. I mean, because this has been great. I mean, really has.
It really has. Thank y'all.
Yeah.
It was fun.
No problem. No problem. Thank you.
It's always good to have like conversations like about racial issues that like don't make people feel awkward. Because Steve, a lot of white people, they don't want to talk about racial issues because they feel awkward or they get defensive, and they don't want to be put in that position. But I respect you for wanting to be on this show and wanting to ask questions and talk about these issues. And to me that means a lot because, like I said, it puts people in awkward positions, and you weren't really shying away from it. You wanted to learn and ask questions, and personally, as me, I appreciate that.
Oh, yeah, no problem. I mean, well, I've been awkward around Dwaylen now for over 30 years. So,
we've been friends since we were juniors in high school.
Yeah. And that's why we even look alike right now. I mean, look at this.
Yeah.
I got the same beard going on. I'm jealous of that beard game. I shaved mine like a dummy.
Man, it took a long time for me to grow mine.
We'll have to use some of that Jamaican oil, man. They say that works.
I've heard that. I need to give that a try.
They said that and something about minoxidil.
Really?
Helps. Yeah, and Durban, and they said also if you derma roll twice a week, that helps stimulates the growth.
Oh,
that's what I'm hearing. Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. So I'm gonna try that, man. Get that Rick Ross beard going on.
I wish.
I'm not going to do it just because I'm just going to get sad because I'm bald. So I can grow my beard at will, but I can't.
That's the best look because I usually shave my head, and that's the beard, the bald head and the beard works great.
Joe already knows this, but I may be bald on top, but
hey, you got 12 feet of hair.
Yeah, I haven't. I mean, y'all were talking about the barbershop a while ago. I was like, I haven't been there in 4 years. And on another kind of thing, one of the things I was also really hoping to do was to kind of network between the different organizations, like Joe being in Cincinnati and Mims being in Clarksville and Devin being in Murray. I was hopefully, connect because Mims, did you happen to meet Big Mama last weekend? Were you at the Oak Grove show?
I was, but hey, your boy likes to respect kayfabe, so I was recovering from the heart punch that I took. So I didn't really get to go out and work my merch table. My sister and my ex-girlfriend got to work my merch table.
Okay. Yeah, because Big Mama, she's big part of the NWF. So so I didn't know maybe there may be a connection there between you and Joe and of course in Devin as well, because Devin, you said you've actually heard of Sinclair. Octavius Bentley.
Yes. Big Mama, where is she at?
Cincinnati.
I mean, by all means,
was she there visiting somebody?
What, in Oak Grove? She was there part of the show, is what I understand. Well, I can tell you more about her once we're no longer recording, but
okay.
But that's one of the things I also hope to kind of accomplish here.
I think I met her.
I
think I met her and talked to her.
Yep. So, but before we go, does anybody have any last words, any last messages for anybody?
Nah. Outside of hey, don't. If you're gonna say the N-word because it's a fun word to say, and I definitely recommend it. It feels good rolling off the tongue, with the A instead of the hard R. Just don't get caught doing it if you ain't supposed to be saying it. Don't do it on stream. Just play your favorite song when you're not on camera. Only play the edited version when you're around other people.
How about you, Joe?
Be at a stoplight and just see them just saying it. I know what you're listening to at that stoplight. You're not muting yourself. You're the only one in that car. I know you're singing those songs.
Joe, any last words for anybody?
I'll say this: if you're gonna say it, don't say it around Joe Pro, Mr. Intensity. Don't say it around me. I'm like, turn up.
It sounds like Joe Pro's about to call somebody jive turkey after that sentence. He's getting intense. I was like, Joe Pro's about to call somebody jive turkey.
Oh, wow.
Don't say around me, jive turkey.
We in like 1978 right now.
Yeah.
Joe Pro hit me with that old school saying, don't say it around me, brother, you jive turkey.
Ben?
That's an insult right there. Hey, love everybody. Just love everybody. That's all I got to say.
Hey,
I'm a softie.
I can definitely get down with that. So,
I'm a softie.
But in that case, I'll go ahead and say my last words. Thank you once again, gentlemen, for coming on.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Yes, sir.
yeah, definitely stay in touch because it's been a while since we've seen Devin and Mims. And Joe, I just saw you last night at the ring. At the ring in Manor. Let me clarify that. You know, so when I say I just saw you last night, some people can take that like what? Okay,
No.
but
what are y'all doing?
Ohio different.
Ohio's different.
But until we all can talk again, I'll just go ahead and say see you later and God bless.
God bless, guys.
Yes, sir. Have a good one.